Yo, Cardi B just got humiliated in broad daylight outside a random Maryland coffee shop, and the whole internet caught it on camera. Belcalis Almonzo, you'll know her as Cardi, is out here flinging her arms, screaming stop playing with me, while Stefon Diggs just leans on a car like he's bored. Bored. After all the rebrand, all the Mother's Day cozy pics, all the we made it work headlines. This is what we get? And Stefon really thought hosting that little foundation event 4 days earlier was gonna cover this up? Bro picked the worst possible time to play in this woman's face again. Before we get into it, subscribe, don't miss it. Nah. Alright, here's the skeleton. Belcalis Almonzo, Cardi B, was filmed in a heated street argument with NFL free agent Stefon Diggs outside a coffee shop and gym in Burtonsville, Maryland on Wednesday afternoon, May 13th, 2026. TMZ obtained the footage first, and it spread to every blog within hours. Stefon really thought he could pull this stunt 4 days after their lovey-dovey Mother's Day photo op, and nobody would notice. Bro clearly didn't think this through. Let me say that part again for the people in the back. 4 days. Not 4 months. Not 4 weeks. 4 days. That's not a relationship cycle. That's a microwave dinner. And we're supposed to believe this was organic? Nah. This whole reconciliation was rotten from day one, and I'm about to walk you all through every single crumb of evidence until the entire loaf falls apart. Burtonsville, Maryland, by the way. Let's locate that real quick. It's a quiet suburb of Montgomery County, about 30 minutes outside D.C., where regular folks grab coffee and hit the gym before lunch. That's not a paparazzi hotspot. That's not Calabasas. That's not Soho. That's a neighborhood where you don't expect to see a Grammy winner screaming at a Pro Bowler in the middle of a Wednesday. Which means one of two things happened. Either the cameras were tipped off, or the argument was so loud and so explosive that a regular passerby caught it on his phone and sold it within minutes. Either scenario, bad for Stefon. Either scenario says the optics collapsed. Now let's pull up the receipts. Alright, let me walk you all through the actual receipts. Pull up a chair. Grab your tea. Take notes if you're a real one, because the timeline tells a story that nobody in mainstream media is willing to connect end to end. First receipt. On May 9th, 2026, the Diggs Deep Foundation hosted a Mother's Day wellness event in Washington, D.C., and Cardi B showed up looking all glowy next to Stefon. News reported they were posing for photos and looking extra cozy at the wellness event. When I saw those pics, I said, NHHH, something's off. You don't just bounce back from a Super Bowl betrayal that public and that nasty in 3 months. You all felt it too, right? That weird, almost too perfect smile? The way her hand was on his chest like she was checking for a heartbeat? Body language tells the truth even when the caption lies. And the caption was lying. Even the Diggs Deep Foundation's own mission statement, centered on improving the lives of underprivileged youth, Diggs Deep Foundation, got hijacked into being a backdrop for relationship laundering. The kids' wellness initiative turned into a Cardi photo carousel. That's not philanthropy. That's PR with snacks. Billboard ran the headline, Cardi B and Stefon Diggs reunite for Mother's Day event, and the article literally said the appearance was sparking rumors of a possible reconciliation. Notice the word rumors. Even Billboard wasn't ready to call it real. That's because it wasn't real. It was a photo op for his foundation. Bro really thought slapping Cardi next to him at his event was gonna pass for love? That's the dumbest flex I've ever heard. Billboard, by the way, has tracked this couple since the very beginning. They were the ones who first chronicled the soft launches, the deleted Instagram posts, the on-again, off-again unfollows. So when even Billboard, the outlet that gave them the most benefit of the doubt, can't bring themselves to call it confirmed, that's an industry whisper screaming louder than a press release. Even the journalists know what time it is. The day before the argument dropped, People magazine ran a piece titled Stefon Diggs Stepped Up with Cardi B, Wants to Make It Work. Inside that article, a source told People that Cardi gave him another chance and things were no longer contentious. When I read this, I had to do a double take. Stepped up how? Where exactly? The article literally hedges with just enough of an effort. Just enough. Brew. Just enough is what you tell HR when somebody's about to get fired. That ain't love. That's a man doing the bare minimum and getting a People mag cover spin for it. And let's be real about what a source close to the couple actually means in tabloid language. It means a publicist. It means a manager. It means somebody on payroll. People Mag's own editorial guidelines confirm they use anonymous sources tied to people familiar. Translation: this leak was authorized. This wasn't gossip. This was a press release dressed up like one. Fourth receipt, and this is the one. May 13th, 2026. TMZ uploaded video of Cardi outside the Burtonsville coffee shop, aggressively yelling at Stefon while he leaned on a car with his arms crossed. You can clearly hear Cardi yell, "Stop playing with me." And the person filming actually whispered, "Oh, it's okay, Cardi." You can feel the second-hand embarrassment in that cameraman's voice. Nah, you can't say "stop playing with me" in public and expect anybody to take the rebrand serious after that. The audio quality on that clip is sharp enough you can hear her voice crack. That ain't performance. That ain't stage for clicks. That's a woman who hit a wall. And the cameraman whispering, "It's okay, Cardi," like he's consoling a stranger from across the parking lot. That's the kind of detail you can't fake. That's a real human reacting to real pain. The internet doesn't usually pity Cardi. The fact that this clip generated pity, that's how you know it crossed a line. Fifth receipt. Yahoo Sports ran a piece quoting that source saying things were no longer contentious. Not contentious, huh? 3 days later, she's screaming his name in a parking lot like a Real Housewife reunion. That line right there, no longer contentious. That's where the PR team lost the plot completely. Whoever drafted that talking point should be fired by Friday. Because the moment you tell the world things are calm, you make every loud moment after it look 10 times louder by contrast. That's PR 101. You don't claim a state of peace until you can sustain it for at least a fiscal quarter. They couldn't even sustain it for 72 hours. That's an unforced error of historic proportions. The Harvard Business Review literally has case studies on crisis comms that warn against this exact mistake. Sixth receipt. The leaked text exchange. Yahoo Sports also covered the alleged text between Stefon and his private chef where money was a dispute that triggered the whole December incident. When I saw those screenshots, I was like, this man's communication style with women. Chaos. And Cardi saw the same text you saw and still pulled up to his foundation event. Wild. Wild work. Because those text messages weren't just receipts. They were a personality profile. The way he typed. The way he replied. The dismissive tone. The financial fixation, the pressure cooker energy of someone who feels cornered and lashes out instead of listening. That's a behavioral fingerprint. And once you see somebody's behavioral fingerprint, you can predict their next move. Cardi saw it. We saw it. The only person who didn't see it apparently was Cardi's heart, which kept overriding her gut. Seventh receipt, a bonus one nobody's talking about. Page 6 had already reported that Cardi B was officially dating new artist collaborators and moving on with her own brand momentum earlier in the spring of 2026. So she didn't need Stefon. She had options. She had her tour. She had her album cycle. She had her body gang fully mobilized. Which means whatever pulled her back into that May 9th photo op wasn't desperation. It was something else. Maybe hope. Maybe co-parenting logistics. Maybe a moment of weakness. Whatever it was, it cost her dearly within 96 hours. Now that we got the quotes, let's connect the dots. Alright, check this. The timeline is a smoking gun. Nobody's mapping this out right. Mainstream coverage is treating each headline like its own island. Nah, these are connected. This is one continuous chain reaction. That foundation event, it dropped exactly 4 days before the Maryland argument. 4. And on top of that, the People magazine stepped up piece dropped on May 12th, 1 day before TMZ caught the screaming match. So somebody planted a rehab the relationship story in People, and within 24 hours the receipts pulled UP and exposed it. That's not a coincidence. That's a PR cycle collapsing in real time. The publication to implosion ratio here is unprecedented. Most celebrity rebrands give themselves at least a 30-day buffer between weird great headlines and any potential drama. This one gave itself 1 day. That's either reckless arrogance or a team that didn't believe their own story enough to protect it. Remember that Mother's Day appearance? It went up the same weekend Stefon's free agency speculation was peaking. USA Today ran a piece on May 6 listing the 6 best team fits for Stefon as a free agent. So bro needed positive press and a soft public image right when teams were evaluating him. So Stefon's camp really thought nobody would connect these dots? Nah, bro, we all saw what you were doing. Free agency in the NFL isn't just about tape. It's about liability. Front offices employ entire teams just to evaluate the off-field risk profile of a potential signing. NFL.com has reported repeatedly that team executives weigh public perception heavily when valuing veteran free agents on the wrong side of 30. So flooding the zone with Mother's Day picks and stepped-up narratives is a calculated risk reduction play. It's actuarial. It's cold. It's also obvious once you see it. Now zoom out. February 2026, Super Bowl weekend. Yahoo confirmed the pair split right after the post-Super Bowl trip. The breakup itself was reportedly explosive enough that it dominated entertainment news for nearly a week. Then May 5th, 2026, Stefon gets acquitted on the assault and strangulation charges. 4 days after the acquittal, suddenly he's posing at a foundation event with Cardi. 3 days after that, People Mag prints the stepped-up narrative. 1 day after that, the screaming match. That is a textbook image rehab sprint, and it crashed. Let me lay it out one more time so the timeline lives in your brain rent-free. Acquittal on the 5th, foundation cuddle pick on the 9th, People magazine love story on the 12th, public meltdown on the 13th, 8 days. 8. That's the entire arc of the rebrand. Most PR campaigns take months to even build awareness. This one collapsed faster than the news cycle could refresh. His relationship history is the other piece. Billboard's timeline shows Cardi and Stefon were first linked in October 2024 and didn't confirm anything publicly until June 2025. That's 8 months of secrecy. 8 months of him keeping her quiet. The man kept her in the background until SHE forced public confirmation. That's not the move of a man who's proud to be with you. That's the move of a man who needed plausible deniability. And once you understand that pattern, once you understand that secrecy was always his preference, you understand why every public appearance after that point was reluctant. He never wanted the spotlight on this relationship. He only allowed the spotlight when it served his career. The foundation event? Spotlight allowed. The Maryland coffee shop? Spotlight uninvited. That's why his body language shut down. He wasn't in control of the optics for once. And let's not forget, the chef ordeal happened in December 2025 at his Massachusetts crib. AP News confirmed those charges stem from a December 2nd incident at his house in Massachusetts. Cardi was pregnant at the time. Pregnant, while he was at his own house dealing with whatever was going on with that chef. So any smart partner would have waited years to forgive that. But Cardi gave him another chance in months. Any smart person would have waited. But Stefon clearly bet on her not waiting. He bet on her loneliness. He bet on her co-parenting instincts. He bet on her wanting their baby to have a two-parent narrative in the press. He bet on her empathy. And for a minute, the bet paid off. Then May 13th happened, and the house of cards came down. A pregnant woman, by the way, makes hormonal and emotional decisions through one of the most chemically volatile windows of any human life. The American Pregnancy Association notes that elevated cortisol and oxytocin during pregnancy can dramatically affect bonding and forgiveness behavior. None of that is criticism toward Cardi. It's biology, which makes Stefon's timing of this rebrand even more strategic, because he picked the exact window where her body chemistry would push her toward reconciliation, and his PR team likely knew it. That's a level of calculation we're looking at. But here's where it gets even more interesting. Now check this out. Nobody's talking about this. Watch the body language in that Maryland clip closely, frame by frame, because the body never lies, even when the mouth lies, and even when the headlines lie. The body is a truth detector that PR can't edit. The first thing that hit me? Stefon's posture. The Hindustan Times described him as leaning back against the vehicle with his arms crossed while Cardi spoke expressively. That ONE word, leaning, that's a forensic gold mine. A man who likes a woman doesn't lean during her tears. He steps forward. He holds her shoulders. He cups her face. He doesn't lean on metal like he's bored at a bus stop. That lean is a power move. That lean says, I'm not even moved by this. And bro really didn't catch how cold that looked? That's embarrassing. Body language experts have written entire books on what crossed-arms communicate in conflict scenarios. It's universally read as a closed-off defensive barrier signaling emotional disengagement. The crossed arms plus the lean plus the hood up, that's a triple signal. That's a man broadcasting, I am not here for this, in 3 different visual frequencies at the same time. Now zoom into ONE phrase from Cardi. Stop playing with me. 3 words. That phrase is loaded. Stop implies repeated behavior. Playing implies he knows what he's doing and chooses to keep doing it. With me implies she feels singled out. That's not a one-off argument. That's a woman cataloging a pattern out loud in public. If Stefon had half a brain, he would have heard the word stop and reacted. Instead, leaning. The problem with this man, he doesn't read between the lines. Linguists who study emotional appeals call stop play with me a containment plea. It's a verbal equivalent of waving a white flag while still holding a sword. Merriam-Webster defines playing in this context as to deal with frivolously, which means Cardi was literally accusing Stefon of treating her like a non-priority in real time, on camera, in public. That's a public indictment. And he didn't even uncross his arms. Now the foundation event itself. Look at where this reunion happened. NBC Washington confirmed it was hosted by the NFL Stars Diggs Deep Foundation. His foundation, his event, his branding, his optics. She showed up to his turf. That choice of location is forensic evidence. He's never publicly co-signed any of her events at the same scale. He gets to flex her on his marketing rollout. She gets nothing on her tour rollout. That right there, that's a one-way street with a stop sign on her end. Think about it. Cardi has been on the Little Miss Drama tour with thousands of fans every night. Live Nation lists her tour as one of the highest-grossing rap tours of the 2026 season. And not once has Stefon shown up backstage. Not one Instagram story. Not one tagged photo. Not one supporting my girl tonight caption. But the second his foundation needs an Instagram boost, she's at the front of the photo line. The asymmetry is the proof. And the final layer, pay attention to that one viral post. AOL covered Cardi eviscerating Stefon in a concert rant on her Little Miss Drama tour. The phrase from that rant, praying for, that's a tell. When someone says other people are praying for them, they're talking about value. She's saying I'm the prize. The fact that she had to verbalize that mid-concert, that's a woman convincing herself she's a prize because the man in her life isn't acting like she is. Bro didn't catch the desperation in that bar. Of course not. He doesn't see her. The concert rant happened on a fully sold-out night in a stadium where she had complete control of the narrative and complete control of the audio. So when she chose to use that captive audience to talk about being prayed for, it wasn't a brag. It was therapy in front of 20,000 strangers. That's not winning. That's processing. There's another forensic detail nobody flagged. The location of the gym in Burtonsville. The 2 of them were reportedly leaving a wellness coffee spot near a workout facility. Why does that matter? Because it suggests they were trying to do a casual, normal couple errand. A morning workout, a coffee, a quick stop. That's what couples do when they're trying to perform way back to basics. So this wasn't a chance encounter. This was a staged, everyday couple narrative that imploded in the middle of being filmed. The argument didn't happen during a high-stress event. It happened during a TRY at normalcy, which means even the low-stakes version of their reconciliation couldn't survive contact with reality. Now let's see how the media covered all this. Alright, so let's compare framings across the major outlets, because this is where it gets messy. Different outlets, different agendas, different editorial DNA. And the contrast between how they covered the same story tells you more about the media than it does about Cardi and Stefon. Complex framed the Maryland argument as a tense encounter following reports the 2 had worked through relationship issues. Notice how Complex hedges with reports the 2 had worked through. They are skeptical. They are calling out the PR spin without saying it directly. Complex has been around the hip-hop news cycle long enough to recognize when somebody's trying to plant a narrative through them. Their editorial culture is built on calling out the game even when they have to play it. So that one word reports is doing a lot of heavy lifting. It's basically the journalist whispering, I don't believe this either, in the middle of their own article. Now look at People magazine's framing. The same outlet that ran the stepped-up story. People's framing was rebrand friendly. A source painted Stefon as making effort. But remember that just enough of an effort detail? People accidentally expose the truth by being honest about the size of the effort. That's not journalism. That's a leak inside a press release. People has historically been the celebrity-friendly outlet of choice for image rehabilitation. People's Media Kit literally markets itself to publicists as a destination for trusted celebrity narratives. Trusted by who? Not by US. Trusted by the publicists. That's the business model. Then TMZ went straight for the jugular. TMZ's headline straight up said Cardi B and Stefon Diggs argue outside Maryland coffee shop. No softening. No work through issues. Just receipts. TMZ framed it as a rebrand collapse. They are the only outlet that called it what it is. TMZ's whole brand, going back to their founding, is built on raw footage first and editorial commentary second. They don't care about access. They care about clicks. So when TMZ goes hard on a celebrity, you know the celebrity's PR team has already lost control of the news cycle. Once TMZ owns your story, nobody else's softer framing can survive next to their evidence. Then Hot 97 came in with a different spin. Hot 97 reported Cardi framed the incident as an ordinary lover's quarrel. An ordinary lover's quarrel. Cardi's PR team is reaching with that one. Ordinary couples don't argue with TMZ cameras 4 days after foundation photo op. Some Stefon fans are saying this is cap. But those are the same people who thought he stepped up because people said so. That's not analysis. That's stenography. Hot 97, by the way, has cultural credibility in the hip-hop space because of decades of work with the genre. So when they pivot to a normalize it frame, that's not them being naive. That's them protecting an artist they have a long relationship with. There's a difference between independent journalism and ecosystem journalism. Hot 97 was doing ecosystem journalism on this one. The Daily Mail also weighed in, leaning into more sensational visuals, while Variety kept it businesslike, focused on Stefon's free agency implications. The international press picked up the story within 24 hours, with Sky News and Hindustan Times putting their own regional spin on the drama. The global pickup tells you the story isn't just an American tabloid moment. It's a worldwide referendum on celebrity reconciliation theater. The counter-narrative going around is that this is just normal couple drama, and we're making it bigger than it is. Nah. The receipts from earlier prove this is a pattern, not a moment. The media trying to spin this soft, but the timeline doesn't lie. You can't run a stepped-up headline on Tuesday and a parking lot screaming match on Wednesday and claim everything's fine. The fact that mainstream media is split into 3 camps, team cover, team receipts, and team look-away, tells you the story has too much shrapnel for ANY outlet to control on their own. This story escaped containment. And once a story escapes containment, no PR firm in America can put it back in the bottle. But here's what nobody is saying. Mainstream is selling you all this story like it's a celebrity couple having a rough patch. Like Cardi just needs to communicate better. Like Stefon just needs to show up more. Nah, the real story is this. Stefon Diggs is running a textbook image rehabilitation playbook on Cardi B, and the NFL free agency market is a real target audience. Here's what they won't tell you. This isn't beef. This isn't love. This is industry politics. A 4X Pro Bowl receiver who just got acquitted of felony charges in early May needs O&E thing before training camps open. A clean public image so GM feels safe handing him a roster spot. That's it. That's the entire game. And Cardi, a Grammy-winning headline magnet, Bad Bunny-signed global superstar, is the cleanest reputation accessory you can rent in America right now. The economics on this are wild when you actually break it down. NFL veteran receiver contracts on the second wave of free agency tend to swing between $5 million and $20 million depending on perceived risk. Spotrac tracks contract data like this every offseason. Even a single percentage point of off-field risk reduction in a GM's mind could translate into millions of dollars on a final offer. So a 5-day rebrand campaign with Cardi B isn't a romance. It's an investment with a measurable financial IOI. Bro is a puppet, and his PR people are pulling strings. The fact that the People Mag stepped up piece dropped the exact week his free agency rumors peaked? That's not a romance announcement. That's a press release with a face on it. Stefon's whole comeback strategy depends on a softer story being on top of the Google results when teams pull up his name. Cardi is the softer story. She's the buffer between the chef trial headlines and the new contract. There's an entire industry of crisis PR firms that specialize in exactly this kind of Google result manipulation. Edelman is one of the biggest in the world. Their playbook? Flood the search index with positive content so that when a recruiter or front office Googles a name, the first page is rehabilitation, not scandal. Cardi B's smiling face at the foundation event is first page Google result material. That's what she was rented for. Remember those leaked text messages from earlier? The deeper meaning isn't the money dispute. The deeper meaning is how he speaks to women when there's no camera. That tone, that dismissiveness, that's the unfiltered Stefon. The version Cardi gets at Maryland coffee shops with cameras she didn't know were rolling. That's the man. The foundation event smile? That's the costume. There's a clinical term for this in interpersonal psychology. It's called front stage versus backstage behavior, coined by sociologist Irving Goffman. Front stage is a version of you the world sees. Backstage is a version your private chef and your text thread sees. The May 13th argument was a backstage moment that accidentally went front stage, and that's why it's so devastating. The mask slipped. The costume came off in public. And that timeline we connected, it reveals a calculated pattern. Acquittal foundation event, people mag drop, argument. That's not the rhythm of a couple healing. That's a rhythm of a campaign managing optics. The argument leaking publicly probably wasn't even part of the plan. That's why it's gold. That's the moment the curtain fell. Stefon is playing checkers while everyone else thinks is playing chess. But the truth is not even playing the same game Cardi thinks they are playing. She thinks she's in a relationship. He thinks he's in a brand partnership. And the contract terms are entirely one-sided. She gives him reputation. He gives her photo op crumbs. She gives him Google results. He gives her parking lot lectures. She gives him a soft launch. He gives her crossed arms. That's not a partnership. That's a transaction with imbalanced exchange rates. Now here's where it gets ugly. The historical pattern. We've seen this script before. High-profile woman with money and influence gets paired with a high-profile athlete who's facing a reputation crisis. Athlete uses a platform to rehab his image. Athlete gets back to peak career status. Athlete leaves. We saw it before with other couples and entertainment sports crossovers, and we're watching it run in real time again. Cardi is on the losing side of a playbook that's been running for decades. The Sports Business Journal has tracked countless versions of this dynamic in athlete-celebrity pairings going back to the 1990s. The pattern is so consistent that some agents informally call it the soft halo strategy. Pair your client with beloved public figure right before contract negotiations and let her cultural goodwill spill onto his name. The dirty secret? Once the contract is signed, the relationship usually has a 12 to 18-month half-life. Then a quiet, amicable split. Always. The cultural angle? Cardi B's brand has always been the baddest, the realest. I don't let nobody play me. That's her whole marketing pitch. Every song, every interview, every red carpet. It's the same energy. But this Maryland clip, it undoes that. You can't yell "stop playing with me" while a man leans on his car looking unbothered and still be the girl who runs hip-hop. Stefon doesn't represent love. He represents the END of her baddest branding. He's rewriting her image in real time without her permission. And the brand value at stake here is real money. Forbes has previously valued Cardi B's brand power in the tens of millions when you factor in endorsements, tour grosses, and licensing. Every viral clip of her in a vulnerable position takes a measurable percentage out of that brand equity. So while Stefon's stock is going up because it's been humanized by the relationship, Hayes is going down because she's been softened in a way she never asked to be softened. That's an asymmetric trade. He gains. She loses. And here's the brutal psychology of it. He's resentful. Resentful that his PR team told him he needs her, when his ego tells him he doesn't need anybody. That resentment leaks out in moments like this Maryland argument. The lean, the crossed arms, the bored face. That's not love hiding behind a fight. That's hostility hiding behind a contract. He's mad he needs her. So he punishes her in public, then poses with her in private. Every smart person can see this. Cardi can probably see this. She's just choosing not to look. Psychologists call this kind of dynamic reluctant dependency, when one party in a relationship resents needing the other and acts out that resentment unconsciously. American Psychological Association has whole research libraries on this kind of pattern in high-conflict couples. The man doesn't even fully understand why he's cold to her. He just is cold. Because his subconscious knows a truth his ego won't admit. He's a smaller player in this dynamic. And he hates it. And that's the truth they won't tell you. The reconciliation is a campaign. Cardi isn't a girlfriend right now. She's a reputation laundromat. And every time the receipts drop, the brand is borrowing from takes the hit, not him. That's the entire racket in one sentence. Borrowed reputation. Outsourced humanity. Rented warmth. And the moment the news cycle moves past his free agency, the lease is up. He returns the keys. She's stuck with the mileage. There's even more layered psychology hiding in the chef incident. The thing about December 2025 wasn't the chef. It was a pattern of how Stefon handles conflict when he feels he has the upper hand. AP News detailed how the dispute escalated quickly and involved law enforcement. Conflict escalation researchers will tell you that men who escalate domestic disputes to police involvement during financial disputes tend to have a specific control profile. They default to dominance when challenged. National Domestic Violence Hotline has resources on this exact behavioral pattern. Now apply that profile to the Maryland argument. The crossed arms, the lean, the silence in the face of stop playing with ME. That's the same profile. Different room, same man. So what happens next? Here's what's most likely to happen. Stefon's gonna sign somewhere. USA Today already mapped 6 teams that make sense, and his camp is gonna pick whichever one offers the cleanest narrative reset. The moment that ink dries on a new NFL contract, watch what happens to this relationship. The unfollows are gonna come back. The Mother's Day soft launch posts are gonna disappear. The stepped-up headlines are gonna get replaced by amicable split headlines. Mark my words. When Stefon doesn't need the optics anymore, he's gonna look desperate pretending he ever needed her. The silence is gonna hurt Cardi more than any breakup statement, because it's gonna confirm what we all already know. He was never in it. What's the unfollow timing specifically? There's almost always a 30 to 60 day gap between a contract signing and a quiet relationship dissolution. Pro Football Reference track signing dates publicly. Compare it to the next Instagram unfollow date. Set a calendar reminder. Watch the math work in real time. Now, if Cardi actually wakes up and chooses her, watch out. If she drops a song addressing this whole thing on her next project, it's over for the rebrand. She already eviscerated him during her Little Miss Drama tour rant on stage. Hot new hip-hop imagined that energy on wax with producer behind it. Stefon is not ready for a Cardi B diss record. He doesn't have the rap pen. He doesn't have the PR machine, and he doesn't have the cultural capital to survive a viral chorus that turns him into a meme inside every NFL stadium for the next decade. If she goes that route, every Stop Playing with ME gets remixed into ringtones. He'd never recover. The diss track lineage in hip-hop is legendary precisely because the right song outlives a relationship by generation. Genius's entire archives of careers being shaped or shattered by a single track. Cardi has a pen, the production budget, and the cultural standing to make that song the defining cultural reference for athlete-celebrity entanglements for the next 10 years. Looking at the bigger picture, this moment is bigger than them. The cultural impact angle is wild. 5 years from now, when fans look back at hip-hop's relationship with the NFL, this is a chapter that gets pulled up. The first time a Pro Bowl receiver tried to use a Grammy-winning rapper as a PR launderer and got publicly exposed 4 days into his rebrand. That's a case study. NFL agents are gonna start telling their clients, don't date the rapper, you can't outrun her camera. That's the legacy. This moment is gonna live as the example of how not to do a comeback. Sports business professors are gonna teach this case in MBA programs. Wharton School and Harvard Business School both have sports management curricula that build entire semesters around case studies just like this one. Future agents will study this incident as a moment the playbook stopped working. And for Stefon specifically, his legacy is in trouble. He's still an elite route runner. The talent isn't the question. But the off-field brand? He just demonstrated to every front office in the league that drama follows him into parking lots. That's a red flag teams remember. He's watching the cultural momentum move on without him, and the louder he tries to fake a comeback, the more obvious it becomes. He thought Cardi was a shield. Turns out she was a camera. Veteran wide receivers entering their 30s already face an uphill battle on second contracts. Over the cap tracks the steep drop-off in guaranteed money for receivers past age 31. Now add a media attention liability on top of that age curve liability, and the negotiating leverage for Stefon shrinks dramatically. Every dollar of guaranteed money he loses in negotiations is a dollar that the May 13th parking lot footage cost him. That clip has a price tag, and it's measured in millions. For Cardi B's legacy, if she chooses herself after this becomes a chapter where she leveled up. The fallback option, the pivot, the moment Little Miss Drama, became the era where she stopped letting men dim her shine. That's a redemption arc the culture wants for her. And it's right there. She just has to take it. Her tour numbers, her streaming numbers, her social engagement numbers, every single metric is pointing UP independently of him. Spotify charts and Billboard charts both track artist momentum in real time, and the data tells the same story over and over. Cardi is in a creative peak. She doesn't need a co-star. She IS the show. The only question left is whether she realizes it before the next People magazine stepped up peace tries to drag her back into the laundromat. And here's the wider lesson for every viewer watching this unfold. Pay attention to who shows up for who, when, and on whose turf. Pay attention to the timing of every source close to the couple leak. Pay attention to which press cycle conveniently coincides with which career inflection point. The receipts are everywhere if you know how to read them. And once you start seeing the pattern in this story, you'll start seeing it everywhere. In music, in sports, in politics, in tech, in every corner of public life where reputation is currency and partners are sometimes treated like ATMs. Whatever happens, one thing's clear. Stefon already lost. The footage exists. The timeline is in the public record. The receipts are screenshot, saved, archived, and indexed by every entertainment journalist in the country. There is no PR campaign sophisticated enough to outrun what we already saw with our own eyes on May 13th, 2026, outside that Burtonsville coffee shop. He can sign the contract. He can fake the smile. He can release the statement. He can plant the next People magazine fluff piece. But the world has already seen the lean. The world has already heard stop playing with ME. And once the world sees something that real, no amount of PR can unsee it. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed uncovering the real story, smash that like button and hit subscribe so you never miss when we expose what everyone else is too scared to say. Ring that bell for notifications. And if you want more truth bombs like this, click on one of these videos next. Trust me, you'll want to see what we found.